Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Make sure you guys are smashing up the likes. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel as well if you're new. Listen, we need to have a proper conversation here, yeah? Where do we go from here? We can't be in a situation where Manchester City and the Premier League are in constant legal battles for the rest of our life. Right? That's not good for Manchester City. It's not good for the Premier League. And to be honest, it's not good for the fucking mental health of football fans around the world. We need to get back to focus on the football. But to be able to do that, we need to come up with a solution to the current issues. So what are the current issues? The current issues is that the Premier League as a league and the football clubs and probably fans as well, let's throw fans in there because they're a key stakeholder in this as well, have fundamentally different views on how the league should be governed when it comes to finances in the league. So at the moment, we've got financial fair play. Now that's changing again. I mean, how many times has this already changed in the 10 years that this has been in force? It's changing again going into next year. This year we've got this shadow system going on, and we've got associated party transaction rules. Associated party transaction rules, where a sponsor that is linked to the owner of a football club puts in money via a sponsorship to the football club. That then gets assessed at fair market value. I've told you many, many times, in theory, yeah, in theory, I'm just going to move the table. In theory, I don't actually have a problem with it. In theory, the problem that comes though, when you actually try and implement this, it becomes a very, very difficult job. I don't have a problem with someone saying, right, because this sponsor is related to you as an owner, we want to just make sure that it is actually a sponsor and your owner's not just putting the money into it. The problem that I have is, how do you do that? How do you actually do that? And this is not a bad thing, you know. This is not a bad thing to raise this concern. There's loads of stuff in life where you say, this is a mint idea. But then when you actually try and implement it, it's very tough. Who is Nielsen? Who is the Premier League to say what that value is? And that's the problem that I have with it. So then I say, okay, so can you have an associated party transaction rule implemented where it's fair? I don't know how you do that, because whenever someone rejects a sponsorship deal, I just come back to it and think it's just bizarre. So do we have to scrap associated party transactions? Well, the problem is if you scrap associated party transactions, it kind of makes profit and sustainability a bit of a joke and kind of null and void for the clubs that are able to access these sponsors through associated parties, because it's just you can just get a £200 million sponsor and then your profit and sustainability is fine. So do we have to scrap it? Do we have to scrap profit and sustainability in its current form? My opinion is I think we do. I think we have to scrap profit and sustainability in its current form. Now, again, I come back to what we need to do. I don't think clubs should be able to spend whatever amount of money unlimited. I don't think Newcastle, I don't think City, I don't think Chelsea, I don't think any football club should be able to spend £1 billion in a transfer window. But then you say, well, what can they spend, LB? And again, it's very tricky. It's very tricky. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm not, because people who think that there's just some click of the fingers, new rules, and we're fine, I think you're very naive. I recognise, yeah, that this is a very, very difficult situation, that we do need rules and we do need regulation. When you actually come to the idea of implementing it, I think it's very tough. I think, right, my idea, and it's just a theory, so don't cook me. Give me your comments in the comment section down below about what you think about my idea, right? But it's just an idea. So as I've said for over a decade, my personal opinion is that there needs to be an escrow account. And I know a lot of you heard this, but I'm going to come on to something else in a second. I think there needs to be an escrow account. I think every football club should have to put in a separate account, 1 year's worth of operating expenses. Now, that means if one day the owner goes, you know what, I'm not putting any more money into this, yeah, the football club can survive for a year. It covers all its losses, right? Now, how do you do that? Well, how do you do that is you've got to give the clubs time And the funny thing is if we would have done this 10 years ago, like I've been saying for over a decade, we would have been fine. You can't just say, right, everyone needs to have their 1 year's operating expenses in an account by next year. It's not feasible because the bigger clubs, Man United, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, these sort of clubs, it could be 300, 400, 500, 600 million. They're not going to be able to do that in a year. So you're going to have to give them a decade. You might have to give them slightly longer. But once that money's there, the club can't touch it, and they've got to. They can top it up. If 1 year they buy a load of players, their wage bill goes up, they can just top it up, and maybe you could even have a mechanism. It'd have to be approved by the Premier League and the FA. Whereas if their wage bill goes down, all their operating expenses can go down. They can take some money out of the account with permission, yeah, because obviously then the account has more money than it needs. Obviously, you'd have to get that checked. But you won't be able to do that overnight. You won't be able to do that. You'd have to take a lot of time to do that. And like I say, if we would have done this 10 years ago, we would have been in a situation now where every single football club that's in the Premier League, yeah, and you probably have to apply this in the EFL as well, every single club in the Premier League would be safe and secure for at least a year if the owner was to leave. I think that is a great idea. I think it's a great idea. However, that doesn't address... And this is where you need a separate set of rules. That doesn't address spending. Because in theory, Newcastle, Manchester City, that means they could just buy whoever they want. So long as they covered 1 year's worth of wages in the account, that's fine. So then how do you address... Because that solves the clubs going bust situation. Or at least it does for a year. That solves the club going bust. So how do you solve the spending aspect? And what sort of rules should we have when it comes to spending? Okay, so first of all, I'm massively against a salary cap. I'm massively against the salary cap, always have been, and I think I always will be. Do I think the players get paid too much? Potentially. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going on out on the pitch. They're the ones that are providing the entertainment, the sport, and they're the ones that take the money. That happens in all walks of life. If the players have a salary cap, where does that excess money go? Because it's not... I've always said this. If they brought in a salary cap and they said all the money that we're going to save, the clubs are going to save by paying players less, we're going to deduct it from tickets, we're going to deduct it from season tickets, we're going to deduct it from the merchandise, the kits, I'd be for the game, but that's not going to happen. So where does that excess money go that they're saving from paying the players less? It's going to go to the clubs. It's going to go to the billionaire owners. Are you telling me that's a good thing? It's not really a good thing, is it? So for me, I just think salary caps, I just don't agree with. And I know there's a lot of people out there that think there is salary caps. So if you do think there's salary caps, feel free to let me know in the comments why you think it's a good idea. So I'm not in favour of salary caps. What I am in favour of is, like I said earlier, I don't think he should be able to spend £1 billion in a transfer window. So then you say, well, what should you be able to spend, LB? So this summer that's coming up, next summer, yeah? Summer of 2025. How much should a club be able to spend? Well, first of all, I think every football club in the league should be able to spend the same amount of money. I do not think you should have a situation where City can spend this and Southampton can spend. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right. I think every club should have the ability to spend the same amount of money. Otherwise, it's just ridiculous. And I really, really, really am against any form of regulation that allows one club to spend more than another. And again, if they brought that in, that would benefit my club because that means my club could spend more than everyone else because we're at the top of the table. The sort of theory that I've come to, and let me know your thoughts and comments on this one. How about... The figure's difficult. The figure's difficult. Okay. How about a £200 million or 250? Let's go 250. It's a lot of money. Maybe that's too much. I don't know. Okay, let's say 200 million. £200 million in the summer. £50 million in January. Right? Or you just say 250 million through the summer in January. Yeah, let's do it like that. So you have £250 million to spend in the summer and January. That's got to include all add-ons. Yeah, because you have to include add-ons, otherwise clubs will just loophole it and say, oh, we bought the player for 10 million plus 50 million in add-ons. So it has to include add-ons and it has to include agent fees. Yeah, because agents get paid a lot. You have to include add-ons, it has to include agent fees, right? But a club can spend more than 250 mil, but the excess that it spends comes off the next summer's total. And maybe if you go over the 250, yeah, you get a little bit of, you get penalized a little bit in the next one. So, for example, so same, and the reason you've got to do that is because what about if there's a player out there that's worth more than 250 million quid? That means the Premier League can't access the best players in the world. If City or Newcastle, whoever wanted to buy Mbappe and Real Madrid were like, yeah, 300 million, that means as a league, we can't attract the top talent. I'm not saying he's worth more than 250 million, but I'm just saying if that was the case, you're limiting yourself. So City want to buy Mbappe. Real Madrid say 300 million. City go, okay, that's fine. We can spend all our 250 million pound budget on Mbappe. We're going to have to take 50 million out of the next season's transfer budget. Plus, because we're accessing next season's money, maybe you take a 20% hit on next summer's as well. Yeah, so then you lose 50 million. From next summer. So then next summer, you only have what? 150 mil to spend. Something like that. I don't know. It's just a theory. It's just an idea. Because I'm trying to come up with a way, yeah, where it protects the club, which is the escrow account, where you have to put all the money in an account for a year and then it just stays there. Right, that protects the club. Then what about spending? I'm in favour of a spending cap. I don't know what the figure should be. I'm saying 250, but I really don't know. But I also don't think there should be a hard limit on it, because then I think that's not good for the league. The league needs to be able to attract the top talent. And if the top talent is worth more than 250 or whatever that cap is, the league's not going to be able to do that. So you should be able to access future transfer budgets. Yeah. But maybe you get a little bit of a penalty next on that by lowering the next one even more. I don't know. I'm just thinking, man. I'm just riffing off. You know what I mean? Just giving some ideas out there. The only thing I'm against is a salary cap, which is mad because I'm not because I know people will be like, how are you justifying not having a salary cap for these players who are on £500,000 a week? I know it's crazy. If you could promise me that the money's saved from the salaries, yeah, are going to go to the fans by lowering the ticket prices, I'd be game for it. But that's not going to happen, and that's why I'm against it, because you're telling me that the money's better in the club's pocket doing fuck all with it or giving dividends to owners. No, I really don't think it's a good idea. It sounds mint. Of course it does. But I think, again, in principle, it's going back to that thing of sounds great. In principle, how's it going to work? You protect the clubs from going bust with the escrow account, and then you've got to restrict spending. But how much can you do that? Also, another thing that I need to speak about is, what about clubs that maybe get access to cash quick, i.e. a takeover, and want to accelerate that growth, that catch up? So when City got bought initially, we spent loads of money yeah, because we needed to catch up to the better teams. Completely reasonable. If you get purchased by a new owner, should you be allowed to spend more money to catch up to people? I don't know. Is 250 million quid enough? It's quite a lot, to be fair, isn't it? 250 million. I don't know, man. It's an interesting one, but I think we've got to look at this properly, and I think we've got to separate it out into two things. And we've got to separate it into protecting the club from going bust. Because I feel what they're doing at the moment is they try to get a set of rules in there, yeah, that they say protects the club, but also restricts. And they're doing it in one. They're trying to force it all in this profit and sustainability thing. And it's like profit, yeah, and sustainability. And I don't think that works. I think you need to separate the two and have two separate rules. You have one set of rules for protecting the club from going bust, and you have another set of rules which limits the spending so people are not going crazy with it. That's how I think it would be done. And that first one, where you're protecting the clubs, I'm pretty sure we'd all get behind it. So, for example, yeah, you know, let's go back to the bit about the clubs putting money into a separate account, yeah. If they come out now, the Premier League, right, and said, right, lads, by 2034, every club has got to have 1 year's worth of operating expenses in an account, right? You've got 10 years to do it, right? 10 years. There's going to be no excuses. The reason we're doing this is to protect your football club. If you don't do it, if you do not have it on whatever the date is, let's say it's the 1st of January 2034. If you do not have that money in the account by the 1st of January 2034, you will get a 30-point deduction and a £50 million fine. If City, I'm just telling you from my point of view, if City did not adhere to that by the 1st of January 2034, I'd be going sick, mate. I'd be going sick because they are not protecting my football club by putting that money in. And I get behind it. If we got a politician, should be like, yeah, because my club's not doing what they need to do to protect my club. Because I support Manchester City. I don't support. I'm not an owner fan. I'm not a whatever. They'll come and go. Yeah, the badge, the club is the fundamental support aspect. And if you do not protect my club as a fan by doing what's necessary, then I'm going to be pissed off in 2034. And I think all fans would get behind that. All fans. So get that sorted, yeah? Because I think that's relatively simple. And listen, it's probably a little bit more complex than that. I've made it out. I'm just giving a brief overview. But I'm pretty sure they can all get behind that and they could come to some sort of agreement. And maybe it has to take longer than 10 years. Maybe it has to take 15 years. But just get something in place, man. Get something in place where at least in 10, 15 years. The thing is, everyone goes 10, 15 years. It's ages away. Mate, it goes like that, mate. I'm fucking 30 years old now, bro. I still remember when I was in school, mate. It goes rapid. United haven't won a title for 10 years. Tottenham haven't won fucking anything for ages. Arsenal not won anything for 20 years, Premier League. Don't think just because it's 10, 15 years away. This is what everyone does all the time. Everyone always goes for these quick fixes. Quick fix, quick fix. Start thinking long term. Long term. And what you're implementing is legit. And it's going to take a while to get there. But once it's here, it's going to be mint, man. We need to start taking a long-term view of what's going on rather than all these quick fixes which are just dead and are just going to end up in legal case after legal case. Yeah? Stop trying to protect the legacy top teams. It's over. It's over. There's a new era and a new wave coming in the Premier League. Newcastle, City, Aston Villa. Now, that does not mean United, Liverpool, Arsenal, all these teams are dead. I'm sure they're not. They're the biggest clubs in the country. They have worldwide global fan bases that eclipse some of the other clubs 2, 3, 4, 5 times, maybe 10 times. But you cannot create rules which are here just to help those teams because at the end of the day, clubs will just sue you into the ground because they know it's clear and obvious. It's clear and obvious, especially when you put it in an email, lads. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, listen, they're my thoughts. I think to conclude my opinions, and I do want to hear your thoughts in the comment section here. To conclude my position, I think the current model of having profit and sustainability encompass everything of protecting clubs and moderating spend is wrong, and I don't think it's the right approach. My view is that they should be separated into 2 pieces, yeah? The first piece being, how do you protect clubs going bust? I think it should be money into an account. You got to give them a decade. I think that one's pretty easy to come to because all clubs in this league should be backing that. Yeah, should be backing that because we want to protect the clubs from going bust. The second one's more complex, but how do you regulate spend? My cut-off points is every club should be able to spend the same amount of money. And I don't think we should have a hard cap on whatever it is. Whatever we implement, I do think there should be an option of maybe being able to access transfer budget in the future just in case a club wants to bring in a Galactico signing because the Premier League should not be cutting itself off to those players. Yeah, the league wants the best players. If Haaland was now at Real Madrid, you tell me how we get Haaland for less than 200 mil? No, so we need to have a cap that we can inflate. And obviously, then you can just get penalised down the road. Something like that. I don't know. But that's my views. Let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Do you disagree with me on any of that? Anything that I'm saying that you're like, bro, that's just dead? Cook me if you want. Do you agree with everything that I'm saying? Am I right? Am I spitting facts? Let me know your thoughts. And listen, if you've got any other ideas, because again, I'm just fucking chatting to you. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen. I'm just saying this is what's going to happen. If you've got any other ideas you thought of yourself, again, let me know in the comment section below. While you're there, smash a like on the video. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel as well if you're new. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.